By the time you meet Cersei Lannister, she's already lost. Not the war, not the throne. Something earlier, something quieter, something that happened 2 decades before Ned Stark ever rode south. And once you understand what that was, everything she does for the rest of the story stops looking like villainy. It starts looking like inheritance. If you're new here, this is Mereth Tales. We go beyond what happened and into why it happened. Subscribe and hit the bell, because Cersei's story doesn't start where the show starts. It starts in a room she wasn't even old enough to remember clearly. Let's go back. Tywin Lannister had 2 children born on the same day, a boy and a girl, twins. And from the very first moment anyone looked at those 2 children, the world made a decision about them that had nothing to do with who they actually were. Jaime would inherit Casterly Rock. Jaime would carry the Lannister name into history. Jaime's sword arm, his charm, his golden hair, all of it was destiny, simply because he happened to be born holding the right anatomy. Cersei got the same golden hair, the same sharp mind. By most accounts in the books, she was actually the more naturally gifted of the 2. Quicker, more perceptive, hungrier to understand how power actually worked. And none of it mattered, because the only thing anyone valued about Cersei Lannister was the marriage alliance she'd eventually represent. A prize to be given away, not a person to be developed. Here's the detail that explains everything that comes after. As children, Cersei once asked her father directly why Jaime got to train with a sword and she didn't. Why he got a future and she got a wedding day. And Tywin's answer, in every version of this story that survives, was essentially the same. Because that's simply how the world works. Not cruelty, worse than cruelty, indifference. The kind of answer that doesn't even bother being unkind, because it doesn't occur to the person giving it that there's another way to see it. Think about what that does to a child who is, by every measure, exceptionally intelligent. She's not being told she's incapable. She's being told her capability doesn't matter. That the only currency she'll ever be allowed to spend is her body, her beauty, her usefulness as a bargaining chip in someone else's political arithmetic. You don't recover from a lesson like that. You build your entire adult life around refusing to accept it. Now add the second wound, layered right on top of the first. Cersei's mother, Joanna, dies giving birth to Cersei's younger brother, Tyrion. And in the Lannister household, that death gets processed in a way that should horrify you if you actually sit with it. Tywin never forgives Tyrion for existing, and Cersei, grieving, motherless, watching her father's coldness curdle into open hatred for her infant brother, absorbs a second lesson layered right on top of the first. Love is conditional. Even blood isn't safe. The people who are supposed to protect you can simply decide you're a disappointment, and there's nothing you can do to change their minds. By the time Cersei is a teenager, she's already learned 2 things that will define every choice she makes for the rest of her life. Power is the only thing that actually protects you. And you cannot trust the people who are supposed to love you to actually choose you. And then there's Maggy the Frog. This is the detail most casual viewers never fully connect to what happens 20 years later, but it's arguably the single most important piece of Cersei's entire psychology. As a young girl, Cersei visits a witch in the woods, half daring her friends, half genuinely terrified, and asks about her future. The prophecy she receives is specific. She'll marry the king, not the prince she expects. She'll have 3 children, and all 3 will wear golden crowns and golden shrouds, meaning all 3 will die before her. And a younger, more beautiful queen will take everything she has and cast her down. Now here's what matters. It doesn't matter whether you believe in magic in this world. What matters is that Cersei believed it. A teenage girl, already taught that her worth was conditional, already grieving a mother who died bringing her brother into the world, is handed a prophecy that says everything she'll ever build will eventually be destroyed by someone younger and prettier than her. Imagine carrying that specific fear for 20 years before the show even begins. Every choice Cersei makes as an adult starts making sense once you understand she's been braced for that exact outcome since she was a child. The paranoia isn't random, it's rehearsed. She's been waiting for the younger woman to come take everything since before she ever met Robert Baratheon. Speaking of Robert, here's wound number 4. Cersei marries the man she's told will make her queen, and on their wedding night, he calls her by another woman's name, Lyanna Stark's name. The woman he actually loved, the woman whose death started a war. The woman Cersei will spend the rest of her marriage being quietly, humiliatingly compared to. She becomes queen. The title she was raised to believe was the entire point of her existence. And it turns out to be hollow the moment she actually holds it. Robert doesn't want her. Robert barely tolerates her. The marriage that was supposed to be her father's ultimate validation of her worth becomes just one more room where she's tolerated rather than valued. So by the time you actually meet Cersei in the story everyone knows, add it all up. A childhood that taught her she was only as valuable as her usefulness to men. A mother's death that taught her love is conditional and can vanish overnight. A prophecy that told her everything she builds will eventually be taken by someone younger. A marriage that confirmed she was never actually wanted, only useful. Every single relationship in her life up to that point had taught her the exact same lesson from a different angle. Trust nothing. Protect what's yours by any means necessary. Because the moment you're not useful, or not powerful, or not enough, everyone who claims to love you will let you fall. That's not the psychology of a woman who wakes up one day and decides to become cruel. That's the psychology of a person who's been taught, patiently and repeatedly, for 20 straight years, that cruelty is simply what survival looks like if you're paying close enough attention. Here's what makes this genuinely tragic, rather than just an excuse. Cersei's love for her children, Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, is real. It's arguably the one completely unmanufactured emotion she has in the entire story. And even that gets twisted by everything that came before it, because loving them the way she does means being terrified every single day of the prophecy that already told her exactly how she'll lose them. She doesn't become paranoid despite loving her children. She becomes paranoid because of how much she loves them, filtered through 20 years of being taught that love is never safe and power is the only real protection anyone has. Everything that happens later, the manipulation, the ruthlessness, the willingness to burn cities rather than lose control, isn't a personality that appeared out of nowhere in Season 1. It's the finished shape of a person who was built, deliberately, one indifferent lesson at a time, starting the day her father looked at a brilliant little girl and decided her only value was who she'd eventually marry. Ned Stark misjudged her because he saw a mother and assumed that meant mercy. He was looking at the wrong 20 years. He should have been looking at the ones before the show even started. Because by the time Cersei Lannister ever meets Ned Stark, her downfall isn't a future event. It already happened. 20 years earlier, in a castle, to a little girl nobody thought was worth teaching anything except how to be married off. If this changed how you see Cersei, subscribe now, because we're not done unpacking House Lannister.